Let's see what we got. What are the drop frames looking like? Looking good. We're going live. Cool. Let's do it. All right, folks. Welcome back to another episode of GPT with me. Just see here. It's been a while since I've been here. Last time was exploring code in Copilot with Cursor. This is what's called 4o1 coding. 4.1. It's 4.1. Regardless, the idea is, this new latest and greatest model out from OpenAI does a little more reasoning. I wanted to see what it could do to tackle some coding challenges. The one area I've always felt the previous models were a little weak in was the testing space. I think it's a critical aspect if we're going to talk about AI having the potential to truly assist developers, not replace, not using the term replace here, but assist. And replace may happen in certain areas in the future, but that's speculation. I think there's a lot of value from assisting. So what I want to do is just kind of recap things, just get folks caught up. I think it's literally been just a few weeks, so life's been busy. I'm one dude with a job trying to do this and podcast and blog. So I'm going to go over memory cache kata I have and a URL parts. Now, I'd started the URL parts one a while ago. I'm trying to use this exact same technique just with other models. And I actually gave up on it because it just wasn't getting me the results I was looking for. And they're not complicated katas. Like, I've solved them. I was just like, this should be in your bucket. Like, they're just not common katas. The things, I've found as problems or half-baked solutions somewhere, or, kind of turn them into a whole series of things. That's what you'll probably notice here is on my website. I don't have any of the common katas. But I guess if I can get this to work and I can get C# and Python versions up for all my current katas, I'll probably come back and do the more common ones like FizzBuzz and the string calculator kata, and a few of the other ones from the training material that just didn't surface here. So what's going on with the project? The project's still there. It's still working. Scribe's still up. It's moved forward in the behind the scenes stuff. Like, I've got it working across the blob storage and message queues and all that fun stuff. And I was going to go that direction, but this morning I was getting some auth issues trying to get access to the API. Cloudflare was saying I'm just having some problems. So I was just like, okay, cool. We'll park that. I'll come back out to something else. And this just seemed like the next step. Now, I have been using Cursor a lot, and it is an option within Cursor, but you have to do something extra to unlock this because of the restriction. I've been enjoying it, but like I see, even in my casual use, like, it's definitely starting to chow a month's usage on things. I'm over halfway through the month, and it's probably been a week since I've done any real development on Scribe. So that's still happening. We're just taking a little break to kind of look at the new model in a different context, focusing on a known issue from before, hopefully working through these couple of katas here. So like I said, it is available to run within here. So let's, I don't know, let me go find some code. Let's go look at this. So this is just the repo of my kata solutions. So you can see 4o1-Preview. It's telling me that I needed to unlock some stuff. Maybe not anymore. It's got the 4o1 mini standard options from before. I'm not going to try chatting with this right here just yet. I am curious to try something though. So if I go here, and what was I doing? The memory cache one. Okay, simple. Excuse me. A memory cache is a straightforward storage paradigm. One suitable example of a memory cache is a dictionary where values are stored and retrieved using a key. Probably something I'd use in a mock implementation. But distinct from a dictionary, the data in an in-memory cache can go stale based on specific TTLs, time to live durations. Additionally, it has a maximum capacity, and once the capacity is reached, least recently used key value pair is removed and replaced with the incoming value. So if it hasn't been the most least recently accessed value, will get evicted, even if it hasn't hit its TTL, and the next incoming thing would come there. So it's a finite resource, right? You have to find some way of constraining it. This particular cache should be able to hold a maximum of 100 entries, still within the realm of testing, right? The idea is to get the concept across, figure out how to test something that's more system focused. People are like, oh, it's so hard to test system things. Not if you design it right. I mean, I can't say everything gets solved easily with testing, but this is my site. This is the thing I used to do years ago before I got into AI, was really focus on craftsmanship and TDD. We got a 60-second TTL. I mean, for testing, you might take that down. Who knows? But it's important to note the key and the value are always strings. Just trying to keep this super, super simple. I'm not going into types and all the wonderful world of things that would mean. We're just going to just have some string buckets we're going to throw things into. And it's typical with most of my katas. There's a bonus section. I like having the core challenge and then something extra to try and stretch you. Or, you know, if you've seen the problem before, just a different way of thinking about it. Even FizzBuzz has a bonus section that involves primes. So I may or may not get to the bonuses. I think for the standard solutions I'm doing, I'm not really focused on putting a bonus in specifically. But here's what I do. I generally just say, hey, here it is. Come over here. You can see I was playing around with another one, and I'd say, give me a Python solution to this kata. Test in pytest. And let's go see what it does. Now, the nice thing is before, it wasn't as clever at being able to go out and get web resources. Maybe because my site's really simple and it can't. It's doing that now. Where before it could pull it in just fine. That's hilarious. Of course, like the thing, once you go live, like things just start freaking out. So I'll copy and paste, go back to what works. For some reason, it was working before. Maybe this one here I can show you. I go all the way to the top. Can write an implementation of this and test in C# for this kata, and it came back with it. So it's not a feature of anything other than, I don't know, maybe I'm not phrasing it right, so it knows to go out. We can see it thinking. It's going through its various options, rendering things out. It does take a little while longer. It would be nice if cursor was a little more open on this, but it was basically saying because of model limits, it's not going to let me do that. At least it was. That's for this morning. Things do seem to change as I work through it. So I thought for 49 seconds, it's quite a long time. And usually they've been thinking about 20-ish seconds or so. That's something you'd probably want to use in kind of like an inline production scenario where you're going to want quicker response times, maybe a smaller model. It's very much a co-creation type model in my experience. And this is something it's never been really good at, is getting kind of the implementation, the testing put together. And I've done 3 or 4 of these before I went on, and it's been nailing them. Like, quite honestly, I've been really impressed with the depth and the complexity of the code it can write. The one I did before this was a simple password reset example. It required a handful of classes and interfaces, and it picked it up and it did it. It just had it all right there from the beginning. I did have to prompt it on 1 or 2 small things, but that was more of a style issue where I'm like, hey, I want to range act assert sections. I'd also like to see that, there's some thought given to giving better test names, like kind of a given when then type scenario. But here it is. I got a cache entry, I've got a memory cache. It's going to go load the configuration up because it's like, hey, I'm going to take the bonus. So I'm going to roll with this. I'm just going to see what it's giving me. Get a value out, get the type from string. I guess might have to go do a little refinement here. And if I have to, I'm likely to probably put this into cursor or put it into the cursor IDE, see if it runs, and then kind of go through and do some of those structural refinements on it. Here's the memory cache test. And there's some configs. Place. Okay, so let's make the config in memory. I don't want to have to actually go make files for testing and manage that stuff. I can tell you from experience, it's not exactly the funnest thing in the world. But while that's happening, let's go see what we can do. So we're going to need a memory cache file. Copy that up. Let's go over to the Python. Let's go new file. I'm sure there's a million better ways to organize this stuff too. Here's a test memory cache. I'm pretty sure these are going to stay the same. New file, test memory cache, drop it in here. Okay. Here's where we got to the config. It's giving me an explanation. I really like that explainability. And here's going to give me an updated implementation where, okay, it's not so worried about the configuration file. At least I don't think it is. It can be hard to read things super quick, but let's drop that in. Let's go give it a little read. So it's going to take a value and an expiry time. I doubt I'm going to need the load config, but it's a simple implementation. It's got a cache entry separate from the cache. I like that. It's done a pretty good job there. And then we'll go copy the test. Oh, wrong thing in the wrong place. Let's drop that there. Let's come over here, copy the test. And this is kind of how I used to do things in Telecom Cursor, right? Like it was never really quick, so it's a little laborious, bit of pain. But I didn't write any of this code. I prompted it. I've waited maybe a couple minutes, honestly, for this to happen. All right, so it's going to explain the changes. It's going to give me the updated test and the changes. Okay, so let's go try running the solutions, memory cache, Python, and oh, here we go. We got one failure, invalid value type. I'll be honest, this is one of the first test failures I've seen in doing this today. So let's go see how it handles the test failure. Right, I got this. Now, if I'm going to continue doing this, I'm probably going to unlock the cursor way of doing it. This is not as rigid as I would like, but there's small things, right? That's why I'm not working on a big code base to explore this concept, to kind of play with it a little bit. It's really nice having an old side project that's, oh gosh, 2025 is coming up. So that means this is almost 9 years old. Something like that to poke at and play with. Type mapping, update custom type mapping, update the test case. Let's update the test case, right? Let's go find the test. So, test custom value. That'd be over here. Yeah, I don't particularly like the style of that test case anyway. Here we go. We'll go drop this in. You can see I don't have my arrange act and asserts like I like. It's not very good at remembering that kind of stuff, but we'll get things working. Custom types. Okay. I'm going to come back and prompt it on a few things. Okay, I need arrange act assert sections and given when then names, and let's draw. So I'm going to get it lined up. I know that that's got a problem, so that's going to give me a little time to go kind of read this and digest it. Custom types. Okay, so it's storing a value and a type, which is an interesting way to do it, right? If I've got the flexibility of a string, kind of makes sense. Okay, certainly, so it's not leaning as heavily into the memory. I've definitely asked it to do this every single time I've had a session. So now it's going to reprint the test for me. Okay, for reference. Oh, I don't need that. Yeah. Where are the tests? Oh, here they are. All right, cool. So let's go back out here. Test. Let's drop that. Let's see if it runs. I'm still. Oh, I got a whole lot more failures. Ha! Interesting. Let's go plug that in. We got these errors. While we're doing that, let's just kill that. Let's see if this will. Let me throw this into chat. Fix. Yeah, usage-based pricing. Okay, so it is kind of tricking me into thinking I can do it from cursor. So let's see what we got here. Okay. Oh gosh, lots of explanation. Okay, root cause due to objects instead of strings. Cause solution ensure the load config method correctly handles cases value type as an object. Update the load config method. To check the type of value. Okay, so it's giving me really good detail, and I have high hopes when this is fully integrated into cursor that this is going to do a pretty good job at closing some of the gaps I've seen. Oh gosh. All right, load config goes where? Update the load config method. I did that. But I have not indented it properly. Okay, done that. Well, wouldn't you know that? I am limited until the 23rd. Wow. All right. I have not used this much. I was really hoping to get a little more mileage out of this, but clearly, just the few things I've done have made a problem. I may have to go back over and change things within cursor. Update the memory cache initialization. So we're going to do that. Now accepts custom types. All right, so let's go to the initialization. It's got a configuration. And if I think what it's telling me is right, we got one failure. Here's the completed updated memory cache. Let's go drop that in. Let's just see if anything's changed. And that actually was the solution I needed to fix. Like I said, I've already hit the limits on the main one. I'm definitely running into some problems here, interestingly enough. But, it did a pretty good job giving me a configuration. It went above and beyond. It really did. Because, I said to only worry about strings. I didn't now allow the value type to be specified. Okay, my awesome type. So it went and did all the bonus. It just chewed this problem up and spat it out. Super quick, super awesome. Really impressed with that. That's quite fantastic. All right, so what if I go here in the settings? What do I need to do? Got a pro account. I'm not sure I want to upgrade. Optional usage-based pricing. Currently plot through a few long contexts. Oh, so they're going to charge me more. Hard limit. I'll put a hard limit at $10. Let's see what that gets me. Right? Let's try it. Let's see. Let's go select all of this. Let's clean this up a little bit. Cool. Give me a C# implementation. Oh, wow, that's not even close to right. I have no idea if $10 is going to get one query or if $10 is going to give me another 15 to 20 minutes here. I don't know. But my results from being on camera and off camera for this morning it's pretty impressive. Like I said, I hadn't encountered any kind of issues with running the test until this one, but this is a pretty deep carta, right? Like this is actually a pretty meaty solution, a difficult problem to solve. It might take a while. I don't know. It's been taking up to nearly 50 seconds in some cases for some of this to run. Let's just check git status, git add, git commit, Python version of memory cache. That's cool. Like it gives you a real deeper insight into like how basics of a cache work, right? You didn't even have to go write all the code to think about it, but you can go now look at it and understand it. Now, this is pretty, I think, standard implementation. I don't see anything too crazy here. In fact, there might even be some misses on the test. Item is stored. I'm going to go ask it some questions here after that. Here we go. It gave me a C# implementation. That looks pretty cool. All right, I am. Are there test capacity in that test cache file? What about TTL limits? So we'll stick within the realm of Python for now. I'd love to jump over and do the C#. It's been pretty good there too. It's the same thing, just a different language, right? That's what it's about, trying to cut out some of that extra stuff there. And it's going to think for a while. I think that's probably the biggest issue with this model is just the level of latency sitting there. I'd love to be in a year's time sitting here. This is the standard. It's super quick. And it spits things out. So this is what I really like, the exploratory component here. Does not include tests for both capacity and TTL. Let's look at their test for max capacity. All right, so that's there. I can see it. Should evict this key. A test given cache when item access, then item becomes most recently used. Okay, so it's got some pretty good tests here. Test for updating license reuse order on access. So if I ask to apply this, is it going to be able to give me a diff that makes sense? It's easy to work with, or is it faster for me to just go see where that is? I'm going to cancel that. It does seem to struggle a little bit more generating the diffs with the new model in Cursor. That's interesting. I love the explanations. I really appreciate the level of detail it goes into with the reasoning. It just helps track the changes so much easier, even in an environment like this. After TTL expires. Okay, I've got all that. So, I've been able to not even just read all the tests. I've just been asking it questions about some of the requirements. It's been telling me, oh, yep, here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is. Where I feel some of the other models would have been like, oh no, I missed that, even though it might have been there. They weren't quite as good at the reasoning. Additional tests involving configuration. This is probably, no, it's there. TTL, I guess we the purpose, test for defaults with no config. So I would say this is pretty well fleshed out. I mean, there's a pretty good number of tests here. What we got? 12? Was it 9? 9 tests. 9 tests to cover a variety of scenarios. I got an implementation. Maybe I want to go clean things up a little bit. Some of the stuff's getting a bit heavy here. I am going to switch off the O preview and go back to 4o. And I'm just going to say, hey, can we clean this up a bit? So, iterating between the models, using the one for what it's really good at, the deeper thinking, and using the kind of the 4o model for the things that it's also good at, helping me kind of take this narrow scope and find a way to improve it, not necessarily the deep thinking. Here's a cleaned up version. Let's apply it and see. I love playing this game. It's kind of fun to see what comes out. Value type. I'll accept that. That's bunched a little better. Sure. Sure. And sure. It's a little cleaner. It's just reorganized things, but it's a little easier for me to read, understand what's going on. I'm happy with that. I think that was a good choice. I'll just make sure everything's tested and running. It's the beauty of tests, right? It's got that safety net. Awesome. So, I mean, I'm excited. I'm not excited at the fact that it's going to take me a week before I can go build some more tests for this thing. I might find a way around that. But, you know, I'm excited by the fact that it seems as though this advancement's really starting to address one of my key concerns, and that was the ability to work with test. I've felt kind of the thing I've been building in Scribes, I've left it test free. I did try and put some tests down at one time, but I haven't really maintained them. Simply because of the difficulty and getting it to kind of understand the deeper relationship between things. But this new model seems to have a pretty good understanding about the relationship between things. I'd say it starts operating closer at a normal senior lead type developer. Wouldn't say principal or staff yet. It still makes a couple funny little mistakes here or there, but it generally understands things. So maybe that's a function of me not being able to tell it what to do well enough, right? But yeah, there's definitely room for this to start becoming part of my toolkit. I'd imagine it's going to be a while before OpenAI probably takes the restrictions off of this thing and lets it a little more loose. But I could definitely see a continued level of utility here for engineers, for developers. Maybe not use the term engineers. I'm not such a big fan. You know, if I'm an engineer, in my opinion, if I'm going to say engineer in software, you know, they're the compiler builders. There's the library builders. The people building these big, bulky, reusable pieces. Not someone writing, you know, a memory cache implementation for fun. Like, I think it's hard. I'm trying to bucket what's engineering, what's science, and what's design in this space. And, you know, it's a journey of exploration. I've always just kind of said we're not engineers, we're more designers, but now I'm kind of open to maybe certain functions within software are more engineering focused, especially if you think about, you know, engineering like more like mechanical or industrial type engineering. But I guess industrial is more process. But, you know, reusability. I'm just making a website for someone, I don't feel like I'm engineering a one-off. I feel like I'm designing. If I'm building frameworks, and I've got a number of them out there, I definitely feel more engineering is a different way of thinking about addressing the problem. But anyway, that's pretty cool. I got that version there. I am going to go back now and let's get it to do a C# version. Let's burn some credits. Right, why not? All right, you know, nothing too beefy here. Now I could probably just ask 4o, right? But let's go try 4o1 mini. Convert to C# and instruct on how to create files and solution. Wow, I can't type. But you know, it doesn't matter. So I think the new skill I'm trying to learn here is figuring out which model for what task now. You know, it'd be really interesting. I didn't actually expect that to be a problem. You know, I wanted a model with a little more reasoning, so I gave it the 4o mini. Sorry, not the 4o mini. No, I did give it the 0-1 mini. Too many zeros and O's and whatnot. Okay, because I've only been using the preview, the big heavy hitter. And I've been really impressed with that. So I want to see what the mini can do here, especially on a conversion task where it's not like, oh, you need to do a deep bunch of thinking to solve the problem, but I need your help, you know, at maybe a slightly deeper level to convert this over to C# and give me a detailed list of instructions to follow to get it there. The preview version was really good at just kind of spitting everything out, the solution and the instructions, and it all just worked. I was pretty impressed. I think that was the piece that made me go, okay, this thing seems to know what it's doing. So let's go here. And this doesn't really seem to know what it's doing, sadly. Okay. Here we go. Here's where I start to get the more instruction-y type things that I was looking for. We'll go to C#. Why C# and Python? I've done an absolute mountain of C# in my life, from .NET Framework 3.5 when I helped build a workflow, a low-code tool called Werewolf over a decade ago on Windows Workflow Foundation, all the way up to .NET Core 5. I wrote a whole bunch of utilities in that space, and Python, something that's become part of my world because, well, seems to be what a lot of folks in this space are working with LLMs. Some project work that I'd done had a lot of Python involved in it. If we can do it with Pydantic and at least keep some typing, I feel better. Pydantic's now in Scribe, if you're wondering. But anyway, I digress. Let's see. Memory cache solution.sln. That seems all right. Let's add a new project. Let's get that plunked in. I like to have different projects for the two components, just how I structure things. You can have your own preferences too. All right, so we're going to add that in. Okay, I've got memory cache. See, it's not as intelligent. It's so interesting. The 4o1 Mini is clearly less effective than the 4o1-Preview. Like the 4o1-Preview did not have this level of confusion. It was very clear in how it laid out the instructions. They were sequenced correctly, and they just worked. Like, I'm saying this because I've done this for the 4th time today, converting Python to C#. And that's fascinating to me. So there's definitely a big gap on the 4o1 Mini versus the 4o1-Preview. Who knew? I didn't think it'd be that big. Excuse me. Oh no, this is actually pretty unusable. It's giving me a real unusable set of instructions. I'm going to go back to preview and say, I can't follow this mess. Please clean up and sequence correctly. And I'm probably going to have to wait a minute or two. So I guess for me, 4o1 Mini, not very good at programming, or at least the specific task I'm trying it on, right? Like, how human of me to say it's not very good after trying to fit 1 or 2 things that were very narrow in scope. But I do have a comparison with the preview version and what it was able to do and just some of the magic that happened there. Let's go see if I got some of those old chats lying around. I know I've hit my limit. I wish I hadn't. Let's just trail through a chat so you don't think I'm just smoking my socks here. But I just did this one. I was like, hey, cool, write a C# implementation for this kata. It's the password kata. It's a password reset. Super common feature on websites, right? We should all be able to do this in our sleep, basically. So it makes it a fun kata. It's a problem that's familiar, but still might have a small bit of challenge depending on how you want to go about it. So here's the code it wrote. Gave me the beautiful explanation. Here's the tests it wrote. I can't remember if I asked for NUnit before or if it just knew. NUnit's my preferred testing framework. You can see it didn't put the arrange act or assert stuff in, so I had to prompt it again. Tells me how to run them. Said you seem to have missed some detail. Okay, so it didn't necessarily get all the detail in that actual kata. So the kata in question here that I'm looking at the old script for is this one. Create a class to store and validate passwords. All passwords must be salted and hashed. Do not interact with an email server, but you still need to pretend to send emails out. So it's a classic mocking type scenario where you may want to get to a point where you do have a database spun up and you're interacting with, but you're still mocking the email piece. Like, I see this happen a lot in testing. It's one of the reasons I chose to write a kata for it, right? So it's like, hey, I'm absolutely right. It thought for 35 seconds. It's like it comes through and it gives me a pretty good implementation. It breaks out user, and repository, email service, like all the things I would do. Like, this is literally how I would have written this code. And I have written this code. So storing link. It's doing a few funny things, but like I think in the name of like demonstrating an example around structure and technique, it's perfectly fine. It's going to give me an explanation. It's going to give me the unit test. Now, I'm not a huge fan, if you saw it here, the setup sections. I just prefer static factory methods. Long story, but effectively, I've been called in more than once, probably at least 3 or 4 times in my career, to fix test suites as a consultant because people relied too heavily on this and there's a sequencing issue that's now broken, or insert any number of like train crashy reasons. Not to say that you shouldn't use it. If you find it's 100% acceptable, great. Otherwise, you may find that factory methods are a bit easier because factory methods lead to test data builders, which lead to higher modularity and reusability of our test setup artifacts across our test suite, rather than being specifically isolated to a single file. That's probably a bit more on the TDD side than some folks care to hear. So anyway, it's going to tell me how to run the test. It wanted me to use mock. No, thank you. Been traumatized there before. Okay, so I said, help me create the files from the command line. It's like, okay, cool. Here you go. You need to create the solution. Then you need to make a class lib. Then you need to add it. Then you need to add the test solution. Then you need to add it to, test project, add it to the solution, add the right references, and go. I did not get that experience over here, as you can see. It was not super good at like giving me all the detail that I needed to get up and running. Okay, memory crash. Okay, I don't know if I've done this. We'll find out. Copy. Oh no, I did. There it is, right there. Replace the default class. So like I like this. It's even telling me to delete the classes, give them better names. You could just see the improvement of that 4o1-Preview, even over its smaller companion 4o1 Mini. 4o1 Mini didn't have it this organized and detailed. And from the previous script I was showing you, that was the preview, 4o1-Preview. And it had it structured and organized. It took a wee bit of prompting, but not a lot, not an insane amount. Like I wish I didn't delete the very first version. I gave it a smaller problem, a much more trivial problem. And it just tore through it and gave me everything one time, straight up. Then it's going to tell me to go, okay, create a cache entry. Cool. So let's go over here. Let's go rename this. So, I'm still doing things manually. I'm still the operator sitting between the computer. But, someday, maybe in the next year, we'll be able to integrate some of these commands. Like I'm still undecided about whether or not I want to start building my own coding copilot tool, because it's just, as much as I get into it and I love Cursor, like there's some pretty hard constraints and it just doesn't quite do a few things I want to. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay. I don't know what it's console app to test. Oh, I don't want a console app. What did I have over here? What are from the instructions I can go pull? Yeah, I'm gonna go add a new end unit. So it's probably gotten confused because, well, there's been a variety of things in this chat stream. The memory cache.test. Awesome. So now I've got my memory cache test. I'm just going to go cherry pick a few of these instructions here. If I did more command line C# stuff, it might be a little easier. Memory cache test. We're going to go add that. So it's got the project references. It's kind of weird doing this. These are things that I would normally do in the IDE, but I haven't done a lot of C# recently. Okay. So now it's going to have me add the test referencing the main project, which makes sense. So memory cache.test. Oh, no. What was the structure again? Oh, the test reference thing. Oh, that was right. Okay. References memory cache / memory cache. All right, that's good. It's up to date. And then I think there was still one more thing I needed to do. I needed to add the package inside the memory. Awesome. we've got that bit added in. Okay. All right, so I'm going to it's cache entry. I'm going to see if I can chat with this and start all over. Okay. Let's go. I need the remember, I'm back on the 4o1-Preview. Python code from, and I do like this at. I can go memory, Python cache, and related test at memory test memory cache ported into C# to match this structure. Let's see what it does with it. It's going to take a sec. But my gosh, if I don't have to rewrite code into another language to language, it becomes pretty cool. You can think in one and put it in the other, especially for this type of scenario. Again, it's limited, but like I'm highlighting the capability to write tests for things. Like 4o1-Preview is incredibly limited. I don't think anyone's going to be using this in production type scenarios anytime soon. It's going to take a moment. We'll just give it a minute here. At the very least, I'd like to end this stream with the ability to have done Python and C# for one of the katas. I would have liked to have done a few, but I'm fearful of what the cost of this is right now. Maybe we should go see if it's happened to update me on how much it's costing me. I've got a hard limit of $10 saved. Pricing details. I don't know. Usage-based. Oh well, the things we do for kind of demonstrating a concept here. Much smoother when it's integrated into the IDE. I love that fact. And maybe if one's good enough, it can help me actually write the plugin to make up enough ground that it's not going to be a pain in the butt. It's probably going to cost me a fair bit of money, but it's going to cost me one way or the other to do this. Sure, I can help you. Awesome, thank you. See, now it's taking a while to generate the diffs. Now that's interesting to me. Like the smaller models seemed a little easier. Cache entry, I'm just going to accept that. It's a T. Looks good. Memory cache. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go make this file myself. New file. Let's apply. And because it's .NET Core, I don't have to add a Frisinger file to the project. I cannot tell you how happy that makes me. It's one of the infuriating aspects of .NET Framework. Yeah, I would like to continue applying it. I'm going to accept because that's all new. This looks pretty standard. Excuse me. All right, now we can go to do some tests. Memory cache. So that's going to be the memory cache test now. Let's go copy that. Oh, I hope I got that. Let's go rename it. Rename. Memory cache test. Then I can go apply, continue. And you can see here it loves to do that to set up and tear down. I'm just going to take the whole thing, right? I got nothing to really worry about. My X units. Oh, I'm going to have to tune you about that in a sec. I suppose I didn't tell it which one to do it with. Update the memory cache, inside memory cache class. Max size and TTL, I already have those. All right, so we're just going to go back to here, and I'm going to say something like, this needs to be n unit. I probably should have turned the model down. it's probably a big mistake for me to leave it at this size model, but oh well. We're all on the kind of bleeding edge of this stuff, right? There's a new model, new capabilities, trying to figure out its utility. I would say definitively it closes the testing gap. I'm thoroughly impressed with its ability to react and kind of create structure the way I would. Now, obviously, the next test would be to level up and go back to Scribe and start layering in the testing that's not there, or improve the stuff, like a little more brownfields, a little more real worldy type stuff, right? Memory cache test apply. I'm just going to accept everything. So I'm pretty sure it's just swapped out the things. I could do that. It's going to take me time. Why would I want to do that? I'm a developer. I'm lazy. All right. Cool. I'm going to tune you down. I'm going to give you that. And how to run tests now. I'm sure I don't remember. It's probably super easy. That's going to be it. .NET build, .NET test. Easiest commands in the world, right? Oh, we got a whole bunch of errors. Oh. It's weird. We'll leave it here. I don't think I need to burn a whole bunch more cache. Add to chat. Fix. So all I had to do was copy it, give it the output, say fix it. I did tune it down a model just because I think we're in the realm of what 4o can do. Let's just see what the application of this is. Yes, that seems like a sensible thing. Yes, okay, I see. You can tell it's been trained on some of the older syntax, right? Memory cache test. Ding, 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 ding. Next up, let's see what we get for our diff. I've been doing this for fun for 30 some years, and this is one of the coolest things I've seen. I think the previous coolest thing was really getting my head around testing and embracing it, and just kind of the unlock it had there. And this is just at the next level, like just so much detail I don't need to worry about. Assert. Oh, these are all testing issues. Okay. Add to chat. I am actually going to go back to the 4o preview because Mini does not seem to be picking these issues up. Or not. Okay, I think we hit a little bug. Let's go out of there. And I am going to add to chat, not composer. Go fix, please, or die. All right, it's dying again. Sad panda right now. All right, fine. If I go back to a smaller model. Hey. Okay. Let's try that. Add to chat. I don't really like the 4o model because, like I said, it doesn't work. Chat. What is going on, man? Add to chat. Fix. Let's see what happens. Let's hope that it's picking it up. Like I said, on the bleeding edge of things, there's bound to be problems, bound to be funny little scenarios here and there. I'm just slightly worried. Ah, I'm not missing any meetings. All right. Cool. That's good to know. Let's see what this does. If it does anything. Oh god. It's got all the terminal references from before. So that's not what I was hoping for. Where am I? Let's run these. Shouldn't need them, but just making sure. Okay, and now if I go apply the test fixes, continue. And the reason I ran this through the 01 preview is because 4o didn't seem to pick this issue up well. Sure, I'll accept them. I'm just going to go tune it again. Do I need this? Because it should just be an assert that. Actually, that did the wrong thing. I'm going to undo that. Reject all your changes. Which is interesting is if you undo, you actually go back through the diffing history, which would have to be very intentional, right? Like, at first was a little off-putting, but after a while, it became less off-putting. Okay, so we did a whole lot of stuff. No, assert does not contain a definition for R equal. I'm going to say, please fix the asserts in memory cache test. They are old school. Probably a little easier than trying to copy and paste this entire terminal data into here. I don't know if it's trying to be smart about context or if it's just the duration that it's taking to interact. I don't get the nice little steps that I do when I do ChatGPT dialogue. That's one of the reasons I went there first, is at least I have some idea of what it's performing. This just basically tells me it's thinking. I feel like I'm downloading a song on dial-up off Napster. Well, thankfully, when Napster came out, I was in college. That was a fun year, 1999. Sneakily trying to be an electrical engineer, taking a C programming course and sniping all the whole semester's assignments and doing them in a matter of like a week or two. I was the reason they had to put certain security protections in the assignment listings. But I was bored and I enjoyed it. It was fun. C has always been a fun little language. I'm really keen to get into Rust, and I think with some assisted coding here, it'll be really easy for me to pick that up. I poked at Rust for a couple little things. It's cool. I like it. I love the fact that I don't have to malloc and dealloc memory anymore. Now, this is me just being lazy, quite honestly. Like, there we go. Here we go. I made it. I probably spent a couple bucks on something that I could have quite easily done and fixed myself. But the idea is to understand what it's like to do this co-creative process. Like what I'm just gonna accept it all under the belief that it's either gonna work or it's not. My feedback loop is short, right? So if it's wrong, I just undo it, and it worked. Cool. Next comes the testing. Failed. One failed. All right, so now I'm definitely going to need to go add to chat. Let's tune this down. I'll keep trying to see fix if it'll become a little more intelligent. Okay, well, there we go. That's a little faster. Goodness me. Okay, so this is the memory cache. Oh, I don't need the Python stuff open anymore. Let's just get in the way. We'll apply that. Okay, that was a try catch. That was the memory cache. I don't know why I thought that was in the proj file, but and then we've got the test. And this one's also taking a moment or two. Maybe it's just the way the it comes back, right? Maybe that's what's going on here. There we go. We'll build it. We'll test it. It's not Python. right? No, failed one. Okay. Sadly, I'm disappointed every time I switch over to the 4o preview. I'm sorry, over to 4o off of preview, O1-Preview. It just doesn't give me the right response. Where fix, please. Wow. Where I know, based on my previous experiences today, that it does generally get this right pretty quickly, and it's really good at finding the root cause, like a real engineer, like a senior level engineer, a proper senior, not a. I've been doing this for 5 years and I'm a senior. No offense, but when I was coming up, 10 years to get to a senior, that was kind of considered the minimum, and I was the top. Now I'm a principal. It's like, what does a principal do? I don't know. Solve cool problems. I'm a bit of a fixer. I'm the guy you bring in. 30 years in, 33 languages. I think that's where it was. Maybe it's slightly more. It'll probably be even more now. I'm sure nothing will scare me. Variety of assemblies, MIPS and Intel in there, a variety of obscure languages. It's just syntax. That's kind of why I'm happy for AI assisted coding. Um, the joy of writing a manuscript for a computer to understand isn't as deep as it used to be. I prefer the systems thinking, the big architectural pieces, focusing on applying my knowledge to do good design as I'm going, not so much just writing tests and making the code pass. That's cool, but I don't need to be thinking at that level all the time. Okay, let's see. It's telling me I got a casting problem. So I'll accept that. I do enjoy the. Okay. This starts to seem a little bit better. I've got typed values. So it's cool. It's neat how a little toy problem like this can really start to expose some of the nuances of building technology that we may take for granted, right? I think that's the whole neatness of this. Still failed. Okay, I think I might actually have to freaking read this thing. String to type system int32. Memory cache test. Did I fix the test? I did not. Oh, I didn't reload, did I? But that's it. Oh, I don't need to read that. There we go. That's working. We've got a fewer tests. I'm going to ask it why fewer tests than the Python init cache. So let's find out. It did a conversion. Came up a little shorter. I am probably, unfortunately, going to need to end the stream soon. I do have a work meeting coming up. Like I said, I'm one dude trying to produce live streams, doing a podcast, AI Unplugged. You'll find it in the description. Also doing some blogging, writing some experiments, doing some experiments. Feel very much like a scientist these days, a lot less like an engineer or developer. I'm just kind of off exploring. I like to call myself an AI adventurer, trying to understand the full landscape, what it's like to build with generative AI, what it's like to build for generative AI, what it's like to use generative AI in my day-to-day. What's it good at, what's it not so good at, the nitty-gritty, the high-level stuff. Really just trying to understand the value unlock that comes with this tool and what it means for the industry that I love so much at the end of the day. Let's see what it says. You're absolutely right. I was missing two tests that were present in your Python. Test for applying the configuration settings during cache initialization, a test for default settings with no config. Those seem like tests, kind of key tests, right? Especially if we're config driven. Okay, first we'll modify the cache class to accept the configuration object. We'll create a configuration class to encapsulate this. Thank you for being smart like that. All right, new file. We'll drop that one in. We go, hey, apply, continue, and I go accept. Bam, in there, done. Love it. And this one's saying memory cache needs a little update. Okay, all right. And then the memory cache test. Let's see. Because I mean, if I write my own tool, things like this, I have to figure out, right? You have to synthetically build out what that is or what that means. Yes, I'll take what you give me there. Looks good. Memory cache set. What's different here? It's got a lock. It's trying to evict. Oh, let's see what it does. Oh, okay. So this is the updated memory cache. Well, let's apply. Let's see if it maybe accidentally rolled things out that's going to roll back in. Doesn't look like it. No, it does look a little like that. Okay, let's see here. Let's see what we get. Okay, so not doing so great. Fix. So I added some, I was 2 tests short. I went and added in. I kind of suspected some of the configuration stuff it was changing in the memory cache class might have had a problem, specifically around some of the values here that just no longer exist. It kind of swung one way and then back to the other. It's not perfect, right? You know, it's not going to solve all my problems. I very clearly should have accepted those changes, and I kind of knew it, but that's okay. If I wanted to go put those in, I should probably go put those in. I could just read the messages. Cache doesn't have a parameter named max size, but it's going to do the heavy thinking for me, right? It's going to go, oh, yep, I need to fix that. I need to fix that. Not a production level cache by any means, right? You're not going to go replace Redis. Okay. Sure. Apply, continue. It's going to go diff out a line here. Yes. Should get the return t value to hand possibility of null. Hold on. Dot clean build. Yeah, it really. I am going to go back a fair number of changes here. I want to accept those and those. So if I come up here, and that's right. All right, let's go try one last little dial in here. So I kind of hit a dead end. I should have probably stopped and checkpointed when I had those last few things going for me. So I'm just going to go throw this into a chat and say fix. See what it does. So I'd say this is a moderately complex problem, and it's really interesting to see how it's handling it. It's getting itself stuck in a little ping pong. Could be an artifact of my tooling, because when I was just in raw ChatGPT sessions, it was a lot easier for it to work with. Which would be interesting about brownfields code, right? There's nothing in what I was asking it to do, bringing those 2 tests in, that should have made some of the changes it made. I don't know contextually what this is doing either, which just keeps speaking to the need for me to write my own tool to experiment. I just don't know when I'll find the time to do that. So maybe this will be good enough to help me. These all look like test problems, right? And I'm sure if I was in a real IDE, these would pop up. Like I am kind of constrained trying to do C# in an environment that I really never do C# in. This constructor should be. Apply, continue. Okay, next. Okay, so anywhere that's trying to read these is wrong now. Yes. 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 All right. Memory cache set. These are all the things I had undone, but oh well. Continue. Let me reject those changes because they don't look different. And test. Apply. Continue. See, it's working its way through. I'm just going to accept all those. All right, at least builds. All right. I know it's not probably not going to pass all the tests, but that's kind of the end of what I have time for. So, yeah, it's been fun. It's been great. Let me just pop this open here. C# password. Okay. Yeah, so if you want to play around, I'm more than welcome to go to my site, tddbuddy.com, pick a kata, ask it to just say, hey, give me a solution in whatever language you want from the kata and see what it does. Experiment, see, poke around and have a bit of fun. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I hope you all have had a good time watching this. I hope it's been informative. Feel free to, put some thoughts in the comments. And as always, stay curious and keep experimenting.